All right, what is going on, guys? It is time for another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast. And, well, we have another sorry, guys, it is bright and early. And when I'm talking bright and early, I'm literally recording this at 4:59 a.m. on a Wednesday night. Wednesday morning. See, that's what happens. Not enough caffeine yet. But we're working on that soon. I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background. Anyway, welcome to another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast. We're going to be talking to and in the bivouac this time around. I know you guys saw the title. We're going to be talking to Nate Hunt, Jackson Motorsports Group, representing the BFGoodrich brand down in Baja and parts abroad. I believe there's a few other brands involved with that. It's been a minute since I've been in contact with them and worked with them before, and so working on getting him on the phone here in just a second. But a lot of history with these guys down in Baja. They've done a few things. They've set up some pretty epic pit support. And, well, we're going to talk a little bit about that on today's show, find out a little bit more about his function with the team. And not only that, some of the ways that they support racers like none other than Baja and racing legend Rob McCachran. You guys know who Rob McCachran is. He pretty much can drive the hell out of anything. I mean, literally drive the wheels off of it and keep it together. He's been the mentor to some of the greatest trophy truck drivers that are around now. And, well, still the guy to beat when it comes down to Baja. Favorite story, Rob McCachran, really quick, and maybe we'll get him on the show. When he waxed the floor in a 1600 car in the Class 12 race out at Laughlin one year. Yeah. Limited suspension, just swapped out the motor, if I remember the story correctly, and then went out and kicked everybody's ass in a limited car in an almost unlimited class. But only way that happened was aboard some BFGoodrich tires that didn't let him down on that one. That sounded like a total commercial, but when you go beat the hell out of a car, that's what it's going to take. So let's turn the party down a little bit. Let's see if we can get our guy on the phone here. How's everybody doing this morning? Let's see here. Phone ringing.
Good morning.
Nate?
Yes, sir.
What's going on, sir? Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, doing all right. It's Wednesday. I lost track. I think it's Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I think so. I'm the worst guy to ask that question.
Oh, okay. So you guys deal with the whirlwind too.
Yeah. Being based on the East Coast and doing 90% of my work on the West Coast, it gets confusing sometimes.
And right, which time zone, what time it is. Yeah. When you get into the office, you send emails out and you're expecting a response pretty quick, only to realize that, well,
yeah,
people are still sleeping. Yeah.
And being out on the road at races, and I like to wake up early and kind of get ahead of the East Coast emails and then realize that it's Saturday or Sunday morning and I don't have any. So yeah, you just never know.
Well, that sounds like a them problem. You're doing your job.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. So, okay. So in the intro, you didn't hear the intro, but my family and I, we've raced Baja. We raced Baja in 1600, Class 10, 1600. My brother now races UTV. You guys, and by I mean you guys, is the whole BFGoodrich and Jackson Motorsports Group. Mm-hmm. Have been around forever. Give me a little bit of the history. How did this all come about?
Sure. I'll start with the BFG side. Mm-hmm. So basically, about 40 plus years ago, BFGoodrich got a motorsports manager who was given the task of getting the light truck tire more involved or more known in in the off-road world, or really just in the light truck world. BFG was kind of known as passenger tire. And so getting into off-road and into off-road racing, and looking to see where it made the most sense and what would be a good test ground platform for us as far as the terrain, and what would really challenge the tire and give us a good R&D platform. Looked at Baja, looked at Score Racing at the time, and we started talking to some of the racers. And when I say we, I wasn't around then, but BFG started talking to some of the racers, and basically the question got asked, rather than just handing dollars over to you, what would be valuable to your race team down in Mexico racing for these Baja 500 and 1,000 mile races? And the general feedback that came back was, we could use help with our pits. It takes a lot of people to go down there and fuel the cars, change tires on the cars, work on the cars, and to be able to have people spread out around the race course down in Mexico. That costs us a lot of money to do that with vehicles, people, food. Finding the right people takes a lot of time and effort. So if BFG could develop a program where it's available to basically racers who are running the tires, that could save those teams a lot of money and really help their race effort. So that's basically where the idea of BFG Pit Service came from. Plus, it not only supported the racers who chose to get this really a new company to that community. We were known as the other guys. Nobody really knew who we were because we weren't involved in light truck. To get on the board, basically it made teams pay attention and say, "Oh, wait a second, I'm buying tires, but if I buy BFGoodrich tires, I get this pit support program." Mm-hmm. So it was also an incentive for teams to buy tires. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where it started. It's now turned, for a while it was all the top teams were using BFG pits. Mm-hmm. The Scoop Vessels, the Gordons, McMillans, a lot of the big top teams were using BFG pits, and we would have mechanics, fabricators, medics, translators, cooks, just about anything you can think of fuelers, tire changers, like anything you can think of, basically short of changing out a motor in a pit. You can get that service, and at the time it was, if you run a tires, you get it for free. So it's now transitioned more into these days with the advancements of the fueling process. Mm-hmm. A lot of the top teams are now all doing their own pits, because with the usage of these pressure pros or like equipment where they're shoving hundreds of gallons of gas into a tank in seconds, compared to dump cans where you're basically relying on gravity. Mm-hmm. and a couple of guys to lift them and put it in the car. It wouldn't make sense. I wouldn't say impossible, but it would take a lot of investment for BFG to put enough of those pressure pros in each pit to be able to take care of each of the teams. A lot of people ask me, why don't you just buy one pressure pro and put it in the pit? And I was like, well, that's great if you only have one car or two cars, but BFG can have anywhere from 30 to 50 to 80 to 100 teams signed up with them at a race. So how am I going to keep refueling that one pressure pro to take care of the cars that are lining up waiting for fuel? Because right now we'll take 50 or 60, 70, 80 dump cans down there and have them all pre-filled up with the fuel for the cars that are coming in, so we can get that car out, fuel them, go, get the next one in. We got to be prepared for a lot of different cars with a lot of different flavors of fuel, a lot of different fuel companies, different octane levels. So anyway, where I was going with that is a lot of the top teams now are doing their own pitting, and we're really there for the teams who are either new and don't know what they're doing down there and want to rely on the experience and support that BFGoodrich puts down on the peninsula, and or can't afford or are on a budget to be able to do this and really rely on the support that BFG provides down there. So I don't know if that answers all the questions, but that's kind of the basic overview of what we do down there.
Yeah, the background. And I mean, there's things I remember. Like I remember the maps that you guys would do, the chase maps and course maps that you guys would do, like legendary. You know, all the access roads, all the stuff you needed to know, whether it was an improved road, unimproved. Like there was some really crazy stuff. And then not only that, but also BFG relay with communications, kind of keeping track more or less of the flow of the race. There was a lot. I don't know if you guys are still doing that.
Yeah, so that's definitely part of when you sign up for the BFG pits. And yeah, I didn't mention that. I was more talking about like the on-site or the actual in the pit. But yeah, along with the pits, we also do, a lot of people call it the BFG Bible, I've heard. But basically we call them map books. And I guess to back up a little bit from that, so to start off, if you will, BFGoodrich's investment in score racing or racing in Baja, it starts off with we are the official tire of Score. So the investment starts with providing money, sponsoring the race sanctioning body that is basically doing the work to be able to put a race on down there. So we have a place to play, if you will, or race. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where the first investment starts. And I think that's important because the other thing along with BFGoodrich that's different compared to some of the competitors is that we're really focused on the sport of off-road racing. We want to see the sport grow, because without the sport growing and doing well, again, we don't have anywhere to play. So we try to not only help the top guys who are getting us overall wins, but we're also trying to help the class 11 guy that's trying to get a win and all the classes in between. So kind of spread the wealth, if you will, as far as support wise. But yeah, so then along with our sponsorship of the Score Series, we help the race director of Score go down and we've been doing this, I think, since BFGoodrich started the pit program, working on helping map out the race course. Obviously that's evolved over the years with GPS and Google Earth and everything that's going on these days. But going down and helping the race director and the sanctioning body map out the race course. And there's a few reasons for that. One of them is, sometimes a race director, he's only thinking about a really tough course or a really fun course, or we really want to do this or that. And then by BFGoodrich attending or being down there, it's like, well, yeah, but that's really great, but you're out in the middle of nowhere with no access for 400 miles. So how are you going to fuel somebody if you don't have a helicopter?
Yeah. Logistically speaking,
yes,
this doesn't look good.
so sometimes it's a lot of that conversation. Plus, it allows us as a tire company to be able to see the terrain that they're going over and be able to think about the future and what kind of products we need to have that's going to help the racers have the best product possible. So that allows us to get down there as well. But the other thing is that the value it provides, we not only are we on the race course helping do the mapping with the GPS files and course notes, is we also have somebody running, or maybe a couple cars at some time, running all the access roads, as you mentioned. And if you've never raced in Baja, just imagine going down a paved road and you see a dirt path or road, maybe, if you want to call it that, going off to the right and one going off to the left, and you can see multiple, but you can't see where the end goes. So if you think the race course is off to your right, well, this road is off to the right, so it's probably going to go out to the race course. You get on that road, there's 100 things that can happen. You can come to a fence, you can come to a lake across the road, you come to a wash. You come just into a ranch. You can get out there and it turns the other direction and you find yourself go in the wrong direction or away from the race course. So there's a lot of things that can happen. And even if you're looking at a GPS or on Google Earth and you see that this dirt path goes all the way to the race course in theory from a satellite picture, like I said, there can be washouts, there can be ruts, there can be fences. There's a lot of things that can happen where you just wasted a lot of time going down this road thinking it goes to race course. So we run all of those roads every time before every race, because as you know, if you've raced down in Baja, things change all the time. So just because it was accessible 3 months ago doesn't mean that it still is. So we rerun them all. Just to make sure we take notes with, and we put GPS points, waypoints, if you will, at the start of the track, and then, or the access road, and then where it hits the race course. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, it's visible on your GPS unit if you have a GPS unit in your truck, but it also gives a long and lat. So if you needed to get in touch with a helicopter, or if you're calling SCORE Ops and saying, hey, we need a medevac, this is where he's at, we have that captured. So that also is all in the map book. So not only do we take all the notes with all the GPS points and long and lats, we take notes. So we recommend this could be a 4-wheel drive trail. This could be you could do this in a Tesla, whatever it is.
Yeah. This is
put
one
all
for
that
the trailer.
Information. yeah, exactly. So put all that, and all that's captured in the BFG map book. We have all the race notes, and a lot different from what the SCORE puts out for their race notes is, along with the race notes, we also put if there's an access road there, or if it crosses a highway, we'll put what highway it is and what K marker it's crossed at. All that's to the right-hand column of all the race notes. So it's kind of a quick reference guide. So if your racer says, hey, I'm broke down in race mile 350, you can just go to 350 in the race notes and look and see which access road is closest. And then you can go into the access notes and find out the exact notes that go into it. Because the other thing is you don't want to go backwards on the race course. We don't want anybody, not even chase teams, going backwards on the race course. So one access road may take you south of where your driver is, which would make you have to go. I'm making up south because it could be south or north, but could be on the wrong side of where your cars broke down, and then you're basically trying to go backwards against race traffic, which is 100% unsafe. So, so not only valuable information for your chase teams to have, but it's a safety factor as well. Plus, we have the maps, as you mentioned. We do a map. We kind of have an overall overview map, if you will, that just kind of shows the bird's eye shot of it. But then we have zoomed in maps that actually show where all those access roads are, with little flags that say the kilometer, the highway, the kilometer, and then what race mile it goes into, and all of that's captured just in a map form as well. So, and then along with that is the GPS files that we do. Kind of mentioned that you can see it on the GPS because we do put all of that in GPS files, and it has all the access roads and information along with the race course and highways. So, quite a process that goes into each one of the books. But I think that's from what I hear from racers, it's one of the most valuable things that they get, aside from the actual just pit support.
I remember, it's interesting. I remember back in the day, that was the thing. The teams that weren't on the BFGoodrich program were usually trying to get their hands on one. Hey, you got any spares of those?
Yeah, we always tell people when we hand them out, like, don't hand these to the competition. These are for you. Yeah. Not only do we want to protect our intellectual property, but why would you want to give your competitor an edge? So this is your edge. But yeah, I know I'm sure they get stolen or passed around, or however you want to look at it. Like, I'm going to turn my head the other way, but yeah, it's just when you got 350 racers down there, there's a lot of people down there. So, but no, we try to protect as much as possible. We definitely want it to be a valuable thing for the BFGoodrich race teams to help them compete and do well and get to the finish line.
And I mean, and not only, like you said, is keep them safe. I mean, obviously Baja is a really crazy place in sense of that it can be vast and very lonely very quickly. So yeah, knowing which access road to go down because your racer's already been out there for 4 hours, and you had to go back to Ensenada because that's usually Murphy's Law. They break down on the one spot where the trailer can't be close to, and you go to Ensenada, grab the trailer, come back. It's 4 hours later. These guys have been out there. And so, yeah, you want to nail the access roads. You want to nail all of that stuff. And I think that what you guys do, obviously, is super important for that. Being and have worked in rallies where racers have been out there 4 or 5 hours already. This last event that I worked, we had a racer that wasn't getting pulled out of the desert till almost midnight. Just because logistically their team didn't know how to use the GPS coordinates to get to the access road that we laid out for them and all of the stuff. So it's very interesting, all the work that you guys would put in to her. How far does that start? Like we have the Baja 400 coming up. How far out have you guys already done all of this and all the homework already for this? Or?
Not all of it. So, like I mentioned before, how technology's advanced with Google Earth and a lot of other apps and aids, I guess, that we have. The other thing that we have as well is, Sal Fish was score director for many, many years, and his nephew Paul was working with him, and they lived in the U.S. and would go down there at specific times and try to find course and try to find some new stuff or go run the old stuff. We work with a guy in Mexico that would go out and get the landowner permissions and such. So it was definitely different back in Sal's days. But now with technology that we have, plus Roger Norman, who owns Score, is also hired Jose G, we call him affectionately, and his assistant Roto, who spends a lot of time on Google Earth, and he's kind of got some experience in rally racing and some other areas. So he brings some unique perspectives to the race courses, but also they live in Ensenada, so they can go out on a weekend or anytime during the week and just say, hey, I just found this trail on Google Earth. I want to go check it out and make sure it's actually passable or something that's cool. So they can just run down there and do that pretty easily. So that's actually very nice because if you've raced in the last, I'll say 10 years, you've seen a lot of new race course, which has been really good. I think just about every race, there's some part of it that's new that we've never done before, that we haven't done in a long time. So having those guys down there, having Mexican nationals down there who know the area pretty well and also can go check out things on pretty much any given day has really helped. So yeah, coming up to the 400, we've had a drawn map. We have a plot trail, if you will, already kind of put together. I just heard there was a little bit of a change, so I'm kind of waiting on that. But right now the plan is to go down August 12th. We're going to go down and map it out for a race this size. Probably take just a couple days to do. So I'll go down with I don't want to call it a pre-runner. It's basically a Raptor with a few things bolted on. So, and that's the other thing when we're down there mapping one, it's not during pre-run time, so locals wouldn't know that pre-running is going on. So it's a safety thing. We're not out there trying to set any speed records or do any time gaps or whatever. We're down there to work, so we're doing notes. And so anyway, I have a Raptor that we use to run the race course, and then my coworker Cody Stewart out west, works in our Jackson Santee office. he comes down and runs the access roads for us. I don't allow him on the race course because he also co-rides with Cameron Steele in the trophy truck. So he's not allowed to go on the race course because that would be, in my opinion, an unfair advantage to I wouldn't even say a competitor in the field. So we're careful with that kind of stuff too. But yeah, we'll go down and map that all out, and should take us a couple days, and then kind of come straight out. And Vegas to Reno should be happening the end of that week. We don't have any pit support going on there, but we have some of our partners that are racing. So the other thing, and I know this kind of do rabbit trails a lot, but the other thing, along with not only the, and I'll get to BFG relay in a second, but not only with what we do in the pits is anywhere BFGoodrich is racing and we go with attendance. 99% of the time we're bringing somebody from BFGoodrich who is a technical person. So it may be a tire designer, it may be a race tire designer, but it also could be a guy that works on all terrains or mud terrains. It could be a guy who works on the Michelin brand. It could be anybody that has what we call day jobs. It could be marketing, could be a lot of different things, but it's somebody that has some technical knowledge about tires. We bring them down to each of the race courses, or races, I should say, race events that we have, to provide technical support. So there could be questions about pressures and what do you recommend with this tire size on this weight vehicle for this type of course? What cold pressures do you recommend? That's very valuable to have. Plus they're there to hear feedback. So if there's a weird mark on a tire or something weird with the tire, or if there was a flat, look at it, kind of see, was it, you pretty much smashed the heck out of the wheel. So I'm pretty sure you hit something pretty good. Yeah.
Short of this being filled with foam, it was going to go flat.
Kind of a slap you upside the head and say, no, you screwed up on that one. Sometimes you got to drive around the rock, but no, it's good to have that support down there. So me and a couple of engineers are going to go out to Vegas to Reno, which is stateside, of course, longest race in the U.S. For off-road. So go up there and support some of our partners there. But once we get back from the mapping and we have all the raw data, we've actually run every inch of the course, so we know it's passable. Score usually still has some work to do with landowners, ejidos, if you will. I won't dive too deep into that, but a lot of times we hear like, why can't we go through this area, or why do we have to go around, or why do we have to get on a highway? There's a lot of reasons, and ejidos basically are a group of ranchers that own land, and just real quick, they can have a head of an ejido that you talk to and you pay some money to be able to go through the land. And then 2 weeks later, you go down to pre-run it or whatever. And a guy walks up to you and says, hey, I'm the head of this ejido. You need to pay to go through here. And it's like, well, we paid a couple weeks ago. And that guy's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm the head, so I need to be paid. So a lot of that goes on, which is, again, nice to have the Mexican nationals because they know what's going on and can usually figure it out. But there could be some arguments. There could be some debates on some of that stuff. Yeah.
Who is actually, that would be the important thing is knowing, okay, this is on paper, according to this is the guy, not this guy, Yeah, I get it, but man, because I've seen that. I've seen courses be changed, last minute back in the day when we were racing because of things like that areas were closed down during pre-running and during all this stuff. And I feel like, I don't, at least outside looking in, I don't feel like Score is out to hose anybody on that kind of stuff, but I could see where the shell game can lead to issues.
Yeah, no, it 100% does. And not only with the ejidos, but We also say on the coast side, especially right now in San Quintin area, there's a lot of agriculture going on, and these big agriculture companies own these big chunks of property, and the agriculture company doesn't make any money off of the score races. In fact, they have more risk because of irrigation pipes, crops. It's more of an annoyance to them than a value, where the gas stations, the hotels, the restaurants, they all get value from the race coming through their area. But these big agriculture companies, they don't care. So it's really difficult to go racing through some of those areas because there's not an amount of money for those guys. Those guys, they're like, agriculture is really, really good, and which is really good for that state of Baja California, and it's good for the people. It's jobs, it's income, so it's a really good thing for that state. So it's when in our little race world, sometimes we think we're huge, but we're not really that big in the grand scheme of things. In our little world, we sit there, how can they not want us to go through there? I mean, how do they not want the people to see these trophy trucks come flying through at 115 miles an hour or whatever? And look at all the business that we bring. Well, in the bigger picture, that's nothing to these agriculture companies. So we have a little bit of stuff to deal with on that. And I say we at SCORE, but it's not as easy as it sounds. And there's a reason why I don't sign up for memberships on forums, because I would regret commenting on a lot of these stupid things I hear keyboard warriors saying. Yeah. But it's the way it is. And you know what, if they're talking about it, that's good, because that means we have something worth talking about. So
yeah, I mean, and yeah, I totally get it. When I was one of my former employments with Mendiola, that was one of the things that I did was, is take a look at the forums and help offer technical support. And the things you see, I mean, even in my current job now, it's like, I get it. I think that's why maybe some of the forums have maybe gone and disappeared or gone by the wayside, is because they become this breeding ground for rumor and just, I mean, I hate to use the term misinformation, but literally that's what it is. It's people that don't understand. They have no idea exactly how much it takes to create a race course, whether it be in off-road, whether it be in rally, whatever it is. Talk to all these people. They don't have actual insight into the organization as much as they say they do. They only know just this little piece of it, but it's enough for them to think that they, oh, I know people there. I know people in the area. I know whatever. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's just hearsay, because they also know that, well, it's not like anybody can prove it, and I just want to be important. So yeah, exactly. And even racers who do know at least a race course and have been doing it for a lot of years, one thing I hear a lot is, well, we've been doing that for 40 years or 30 years or 20 years, whatever it is. And hey, what's going on, guys? This is Victor with the Chasing Waypoints podcast. Hey, super quick break in the episode. Want to talk really quick about Spotify for podcasters. If you are interested in getting your story out to the world, starting your own podcast, it is super, super simple. Head on over to spotify.com/podcasters and get all of the information. It is a one-stop shop. You can edit, you can do Q&A, you can do video podcasts, all sorts of different things in one platform. They handle all of the distribution for you, so it is super, super simple and effective. So with that being said, guys, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, but things change. There's a lot of things that change. Yeah. There's things that change with race courses, with the business, with the state, with the locations that we're going. Right. The stuff that changes with sponsors. I mean, even just in BFG's world, it's not the same as it was 40 years ago. And at the beginning, BFGoodrich was getting involved to get their name out there, and their market, their brand equity was in trying to get exposure, and so people knew what the heck they were talking about when they said BFGoodrich. Mm-hmm. Now we're pretty well known after this many years of staying involved, and And this could be debatable, but I'm fairly certain, just from poring over some of the history and paperwork, I'm fairly certain that BFGoodrich is the only brand who's been involved for this amount of time in off-road racing. I'll just talk about sport of off-road racing, without pulling out for a few years. I can't think of another brand that's done that and been involved as long as we have. So, and that, to me, that's credit to the brand. They've figured out a sustainable program. We've seen a lot of companies come in and want to be BFG, if you will. I don't say that arrogantly, but it's
well, you guys set a bar
the way it is. Yeah. They want to come in and be that right away. And so they come in and they just throw a whole bunch of money around to some of the top drivers, just trying to get that overall win. And it's not sustainable for what they have. The first investment needs to be in the product. You have to have a product that's competitive. A lot of these top racers, as you know, in our sport, it's not a money making business for them.
No.
It's really a hobby sport. I don't want to say that too much, because people think of a hobby as not professional or not as big as it is for this racing. It's a big deal, and you have to have a lot of talent. Or I should say, you have to have some talent in a big set or whatever. Some crazy wire loose upstairs to do this kind of stuff. But a lot of it's gentlemen racers, if you will, or some talent with a large bank account behind it. So, the investment by these teams that go down is huge. And so when you throw a guy $500,000 to just make up a number, and they're spending $2 million, that's nice, and thank you. And a lot of times I hear like, oh, we're gonna post this really big contingency for winning overall, like $10,000. Nobody else is posting $10,000, and you get to the finish line, and all the comments, your keyboard warriors again are like, "Oh, great! BFG gave him a check for beer money for the party that night." It's like, okay, fair enough. But having that sustainable program, again, like I mentioned before, with BFGoodrich, with the sport of off-road racing, and not just going after, not just spending all their money on the top teams, but it's an expensive thing to do, the pit support program, and I think that gets kind of overshadowed a little bit. A lot of people just expect BFGoodrich to be down there, with semis, with box trucks, with people, with equipment. It's a big expense for the brand, and I would say maybe the right word should be investment by the brand. Yeah. But it's not cheap, and if you've ever put together your own race program and taken your own chase and run your own pits and bought all the equipment and done it yourself, then you kind of have an idea. And that was just for one or two trucks. And again, we do a lot more than that. So, so it is an investment by the brand, and I want to see more tire companies get involved. And, I know what I started with. Sorry, with the rabbit trails game, but again, it goes in. You have to have a product. So where I was going with these trophy truck guys, especially trophy truck spec guys, class 1 guys, they want a product that works. Yeah. They don't want to have to change flat tires. They want the performance to be there. They spent $1 million on this trophy truck with all these special parts and pieces and suspension and motors. Technology just in their dashboards, for crying out loud, and light bars, all that kind of stuff, wheels. They need a tire that performs and is reliable. So tire companies that are coming in, it's not just a matter of throwing around a bunch of money. It needs to be investment in your product, number one. And then number two, look at a 5-year plan. Don't come in just for a couple of years and just toss around a bunch of money. Get a sustainable plan put together that works for your company and can grow it. And man, I'd love to see 5 or 6, 7 tire companies involved. Right right now in trophy truck, really, there's, I would say, three tire companies involved right now that have the trophy truck, the 40-inch tire, if you will. So we would love some more. I think that's one thing I really enjoyed about short course racing. A few years ago when we were involved, and we had the race tires for Pro 2, Pro 4. We had 8 or 9 tire companies out there that were competing, and that's fun. Like, I like the competition. I hate losing. It'd be really, if I was just all about winning, I would rather it just be us out there, because then I can get the win. But then who are we racing against? So I love the competition. I love having some really great racers on a competitor's tire, because that just pushes our brand to do better. If we just won all the time, they'd just say, okay, well, we got a good tire, we don't need to do anything. But when you got a competition out there that drives you, like, okay, we got to get something better. We got to be able to give our racer an edge. We need to be faster. We need to be tougher. We need to be better in the corners. There's better in braking. There's a million things that go into the tires, but that competition drives the brands, drives the companies to elevate their product and ultimately elevate the sport. So I love it. Love to see more tire companies coming in. So yeah, and I don't know how long this goes. I'm just kind of rambling right now, but I did want to touch quickly on BFGoodrich Relay.
Yeah.
So when we started the program, we also started doing BFGoodrich Relay, again, feedback from teams of what would be valuable out there. And it really did start with it being BFG Relay out there. It was providing communications all across the race course. And 40 years ago, you didn't have sat phones. You didn't have your cellular coverage over most of the peninsula. You didn't have tracking. So you didn't really know where your race car was. So BFGoodrich would put relay spots out all the way around the course to provide coverage to basically any race car that's out there, and then be able to relay information to chase teams or to score for medical if needed. A lot of possibilities for what BFGoodrich Relay would handle and use. So we've continued doing that. It's definitely different now with the tracking with Starlink. Like what a game changer Starlink is. Being able to be in the middle of Baja where you wouldn't even dream of cell service. You have high-speed internet, and it's wild. It's a great tool. It's changed kind of the value a little bit of some of the stuff that we do down there. When I say we, BFGoodrich does down there, because their teams really know where the race cars are for the most part. But I still think that value exists to be out there, because I don't know how trusting you are of technology, but when my phone works, it's awesome.
Yeah. When
it doesn't, I have no idea what to do. I don't know how to fix it. If I don't have a charger, I don't know how to charge. What do I do? My light's over. So if you could have all the Starlink or technical equipment attached to your car, but if you roll it or a wire comes on a million things that could happen to your technology, then where are you? How do you get in touch with anybody? So we're still out there. We still have the VHS or FM, if you will, whatever it's called, the waves. It's definitely not my area of expertise, but we're out there, and hearing that voice on the other end of the radio, sometimes could be life or death. Could be just a sigh of relief that somebody does know where I am, and they're getting in touch with somebody. So we want to continue to be out there, and as long as we're providing value, I want to be able to do that. So it is a huge part of our our program, and so thankful for the people who've run it. Again, I didn't touch on this on the pit stuff, but even with the relay stuff, we couldn't do this without volunteers. We have truck drivers, we have medics, we have pit leaders, we have tire changers, we have some guys with specific skills, as mechanics and fabricators.
I was going to say, it takes an army.
It takes an army, and I couldn't afford to pay all of those people to do it. So we used volunteers, and that started a long time ago. And to this day, every race, I'm blown away, super grateful and appreciative of the people that come out and do this, because I still can't wrap my head around why somebody wants to take off of work on their own, get to San Diego. So our deal is you get to San Diego, we pick you up in San Diego, take you down, take care of your food, lodging, get you back to San Diego, and then you're on your own again. So these people spend their own money to come down there and go down and sleep with their head in the dirt a lot of times, and work their ass off in the pit, and they do it because they want to, and they volunteer to do it. It just blows my mind, but we couldn't do it without them. And I think a big part of it is being part of the Baja 1000 or 500, some of these iconic races that the world knows about. To know that I'm a small part of what's going on is a big driving motivation. And then the other thing is the brand, the BFGoodrich brand. They have a loyalty like I've never seen to a brand, to just want to be part of something that they feel is important to the sport, but also is something that they feel is important, want to see continue. And so so grateful for the people that volunteer to come down and do that.
Yeah. Well, and I can imagine, I mean, it's like you have, like you mentioned, you have all of these teams that you guys service, and how cool is it that, as a volunteer and being there, you get all of these stories. You get to see the lead trophy truck race because there's a high probability that both of those trucks are on BFGs, and they're going to come in and, okay, last we heard they're 32 seconds apart. And so they're going to be looking at you for this and that, or, or one or whoever, they've got a mechanical issue that's coming up, or there's just so many so many stories, a lifetime of stories in literally just one event. And
yeah, I mean,
I can see the addiction.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Yeah. Well, you just reminded me of something, these guys are race fans, and especially, and we use a lot of local Mexican guys that come out, girls and guys that will come and help. But in off-road racing, I mean, these guys, a lot of them, they're not following Michael Jordan. I know I'm old, but Michael Jordan's or whoever the top NBA player is these days, or tennis players or whatever, sports wise, and this is their sport, and they're heroes, they're idols. The guys they have posters of, people they have posters of, are the trophy truck drivers or the class 1 guys, the people that they idolize. And to get a chance to maybe touch a car or get a high five from one of those guys is huge. Like, can you imagine if, for me, and in the 90s, if Michael Jordan walked up to me and gave me a high five and said, "Hey man, thanks for whatever it could have been," I would have probably passed out, and then I would remember that for the rest of my life, because he was, to me, the GOAT, and I just got a high five. I got an acknowledgement from that guy. Yep. So that's the only thing I can put it to help relate to people who don't understand off-road racing, is kind of that same thing. At the Baja 500 this past race, both Luke McMillan, who to me is, if not the best, one of the best trophy truck drivers currently, and is doing really, really, really well. And then we have what what I consider, and I think many consider, the GOAT, Rob McCackern, who's been doing this for 30 years and dominating and winning, and is a true hero of the sport. Both of those guys had to pull into the BFGoodrich pit for various reasons. I think one was for a tire change, maybe, and then another one was to work on a third member or something like that. So here's these pit guys who idolize especially these two guys, these two racers, two BFGoodrich heroes of the sport, not just BFGoodrich, just of the sport in general. And they're touching that race car, and Rob Mack's, waving his hand out the window and acknowledging those guys for the help. Luke McMillan's, talking to these guys and explaining what he wants, and then thanking them, and putting a post out on social media these days and thanking the BFGoodrich pit crew. Those guys remember that for life. They're down there because they have a passion, and for two guys like that to have the chance to just touch their car and be part of their success or their race, it's a lifelong memory for them.
I can imagine the stories and that, you're walking amongst them. And what's cool is that it brings the whole thing, like it brings it home. If you were at any other spot in any other place in the peninsula and you happen to walk by them, you may not actually know that they're humble, that they understand, that they appreciate the services and the things that you guys are doing. And usually at that point, it's a heightened, the adrenaline's going, everything. Even though some of these guys I've talked to just getting out of the car or off the bike, and they sound like they're ordering coffee at Starbucks, which I don't know how they manage that, but they take a moment to reflect and acknowledge the effort that you just put into that. I mean, it's huge. And yeah, I'm the guy that welded that part on this car or this truck at this time. I know that's me he's talking about, or us he's talking about. That was our pit. That was our team that helped him. So that's really, really cool. I mean, I think it's just one more of the experiences, and not just from the racing perspective, right? You don't have to actually be strapped into a race car to have experiences like that.
Exactly. And, and it comes down to the little things, and it's things that you pick up after years and years of doing it. But I don't know how many times I've heard the peanut butter jelly sandwich story, and it could be from a guy like Rob Mack, who, they've just been in the middle of nowhere, beating themselves up, and the other thing is the lights of the BFGoodrich pit, it's like a sigh of relief, like the whole body just like, I made it to the BFG pit, and pulling in there, and somebody hands you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich while you're sitting there while they're working on their car, and they're just like, that was the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich I've ever had. It was, something that would stick to my ribs, and it tasted so good. And how did you guys know I needed that? And the little things like having a bottle of water there is great, but if you don't have a straw in it when they have a helmet on, it's really hard to drink out of a bottle, from a bottle of water without pouring it all on the inside of your helmet and down yourself. So little tiny details like that just make the experience so much better for the racers, and our volunteers and our pit people, they really take pride in being the best out there and providing the best experience. So
awesome.
So yeah, I think a lot of stuff goes into it, and I'm just very humble to be a small part of it, but very thankful for people who have been placed in my life to educate and allow me to do some of the stuff that I get to do. And it's funny how you talk about being able to talk to some of these off-road guys and getting the acknowledgement from them is really a nice transition in, because I do want to talk a little bit about Jackson and what this company does. But
you read my mind.
Yeah, good. Well, it's a good transition then, because I started off 20 years ago, and I was doing pavement racing. I was doing at the time it was America Le Mans Series. It's just, I think it's called IMSA racing now. But basically, pavement racing, and it was for the Michelin brand. And Just to briefly say, so basically Jackson Motorsports, Jackson Marketing Motorsports and Events, I think is the official title of the company now. Used to be Jackson Dawson, used to be JD Motorsports, used to be a lot of different names over the years. Jackson's been the one, that started. And our president CEO is Daryl Jackson, who's his father, Larry Jackson's one who started the company. And originally started it as a marketing company. He used to work for Ford, and he and a guy named Sam Dawson and started a company up in Detroit area and called it Jackson Dawson. And so it was marketing, but kind of around the automotive world because of their ties to Ford. And then Larry Jackson moves down to Greenville, South Carolina, which is where the company's based now. And for name recognition, since he already had it up north, called it Jackson Dawson. Basically JD South, Jackson Dawson South. So we were the Greenville branch. And again, marketing for, around the automotive world. And then Larry's son, Daryl, got out of college and started getting involved in the company. And Daryl really liked cars, loved cars. I don't know anybody that's had as many cars as he has over the last 20 years that I've known him. He's gone through a bunch, but he basically really wanted to start a motorsports program. Didn't really know what that meant, but we had a connection with Michelin, BFGoodrich through some of the marketing stuff that we had going on, and so Daryl convinced his dad to start this motorsports company. And they said, what would it take? Basically, they went to BFGoodrich and said, what would it take to get your motorsports business? And the guy in charge at the time said, you need to hire somebody that knows motorsports and knows what we do. And so that guy was Frank D'Angelo, is basically Jackson Dawson's first motorsports hire, if you will, because Frank had worked for BFGoodrich, the company itself, for a few years, and then started his own company. I think at the time had his own company going, and he had been involved heavily involved with the BFGoodrich pits and a lot of the stuff that BFGoodrich was doing in the motorsports world, both pavement and off road, and so knew the business better than anybody else. And so Daryl approached Frank and worked out a deal, and Frank came and started working for Jackson. And with that experience and knowledge of the industry and of BFGoodrich, the brand, also brought on some of the truck drivers that have been driving for a different company, but been involved with going to the races and providing support. So we were able to get a lot of those drivers. So we started off with that kind of a base at the beginning. And I would say that was I want to say maybe 25 years ago, call it. So we became the motorsports agency of record for Michelin, BFGoodrich. And that's kind of how that started. So when I came on about 20 years ago, I got involved on the pavement racing side. And this is kind of where that transition was coming, because I went to a lot of races, a lot of tests, and I could see the drivers. But these drivers would, come in helicopters, or, have their private jet land and get escorted to the track and have their little room where, they had their whatever beverage of choice that they liked, and, specific, I'll be politically correct, not make up
the lemon flavored tofu water.
Meal. Yeah, exactly. I was going to go there, but with the umbrella on it, whatever.
Yeah.
And I might be getting in trouble with the pavement races, but it's a different thing. And you can be the biggest a-hole in the paddock and just a prick of a person, and still go out there and do really well in pavement racing, because you're in a confined space. You're seconds away from a medical crew being on site if you have a problem. Your pit's right there. You're within this, call it 5-mile radius at the biggest tracks, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So you have aid at your hand. Out in the middle of Baja, if you're that prick, if you're that jerk that nobody can stand, and if you were that big of a disliked person, you better really hope that the next guy that passes you, if you've wrecked out in the middle of the desert and you have a broken arm or whatever, you're stuck in the middle of nowhere and you need some help, you better hope that that person that drives by, one, doesn't know you're a jerk, or two, has way more integrity and is a way better person than you are, and is going to say, okay, I need to help this guy out, even though he's a jerk. Yeah. But no, you need to have that, you need to have that, or you should have that type of camaraderie with your fellow racers, with race teams, with support crews that are down there. We're all down there for the same thing. We're all down there, one, to compete if you're a racer, support if you're a support team, get value out of the race if you're a sponsor. You're all down there. I talk with all the other tire companies that are down there. Like, I'm friends with the guys who represent the brands, and we talk about kids. We talk about a lot of different stuff that's outside of racing. But you develop relationships with people, and if you just want to say, well, I'm BFG, I don't need to talk to that person, or they should stay away from me, I'm kind of a big deal, whatever it is, I don't know. If you're Bryce Menzies or Luke McMillan, like, I don't need to know you. I have fortunately part of a family that's got some money behind me. I've got all the money in the world. I don't need any help. You can find yourself in need of help real fast out there in the middle of the desert. I think that I guess I just look at that as that's what sold me. I guess it's been 12 years now since I started doing the off-road stuff. That was the biggest thing for me, is these drivers would actually talk and would walk around at pit meetings and shake the guy's hands and say thank you. They're interacting with the crowds. They're high-fiving. They're really enjoying the experience. There's a lot of egos involved, I'm not gonna lie. There's some people I like less than others in the sport. I think that's just humanity itself. But it's just a total different environment. And to be standing next to a guy worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's talking about, hey, where are we gonna go get some tequila, or hey, how's your daughter doing, or it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's a whole nother customer.
To be in that crowd. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's not because those customers have less money. It's just because they're in a different environment and choosing a different sport, and it's one that relies on relationships, and relationships to me is the key to this whole thing. And
especially the racing out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you're literally one corner away, one decision away from spending a lot of time out in the desert with yourself or with your co-driver in a not so ideal situation. And so I think I think it's humbling, and I think that everybody's kind of grown up in the desert that way, and understands the vastness of it. And just like you said, you're not, if something goes sideways, help isn't right there. You're not in a safe space whatsoever. What's going on, guys? Victor with the Chasing Waypoints podcast. All right. Are you looking to promote your brand to a worldwide audience on the podcast? Drop us a line at podcast@chasingwaypoints.com, and let's talk. See what we can do about getting you some more ears for your company and getting the word out worldwide.
No, and you need, that's why I said you better hope that person, and you know what, 99% of the guys, even though you can't stand that person, you're not going to leave somebody hanging out in the middle of the desert. It's just not the... that becomes a reflection on you at the end. Even if that person is a class 1,
a-hole. You know, it's a bad reflection on you. So
it could be the difference between getting strapped to the back of the truck or getting allowed to sit inside the truck.
sit on the co-driver's lap.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen some of these cockpits, and I can tell you there's not much room, so I know that's not comfortable either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll hang on to the back. So my question is this, you know, a lot of this stuff that we do with Chasing Waypoints is a lot of the rally side of things. Mm-hmm. I know that Baja has been a proving ground for BFGoodrich tires for a very long time. Do we see some of that technology end up from here? Like, how far does the development of a tire go? Like, what we see in Baja, does that cross the pond into Dakar, into some of the other rally raid events and stuff like that?
Yeah, 100%. It's actually a little bit of a crossover, believe it or not, and which is really, really good, which is why I really like BFGoodrich's involvement in the Dakar race itself. BFGoodrich hasn't been a global brand for very long. We've raced in Le Mans, and we've raced in some places in Europe and Asia and Africa. But there's never been we haven't sold tires globally for very long. I think it's only been maybe 5 years since we've become a global brand. And so check my time chart, but it's whenever BFGoodrich became the official tire of Dakar, mm-hmm. is that global effort to get us out there. And so, the part of it, was showcasing the global effort, but then also to be able to build that tire. So I would say there's a lot of crossover with technology from those tires. Even here in the States, we've started using that Dakar style tread pattern, if you will. Mm-hmm. Obviously, what they race on over there is way different than what we race on here, or parts of it, right? So Baja, you can have dunes, you can have sand, you can have whoops, you can have, but then you have rocks, and you have sticks, you have cactus, you have a ton of stuff that goes into Baja, which I won't go back into the Baja side of things. It's one of the reasons we chose that area, is just because of the variety of terrain that the tires are going through. But but specifically to Dakar, so puncture resistance is huge. In Dakar, you hear of a lot of stick puncture or sharp rocks. You get a lot of cuts. Mm-hmm. So developing compounds that are cut resistant, if you will, and then some of the material, not just the materials, but the design of how you make those materials all mesh together. And for a while it was all about, we want to be the toughest tire. We want to be the toughest, winningest tire, not just in Baja, but wherever we race. Mm-hmm. And it's advanced to, not only do we want those two things, but we also want the performance side. You ask a racer, like, what's the most important thing about a tire? Is don't go flat. Yeah. And there's a bunch of ways that a tire can go flat. I never hear at the end of a race, oh man, I had 3 broken wheels. No, it's never broken wheels, even though once you find the tire package, the wheel's shattered and there's a big gaping hole in the center of the wheel because you smashed a rock. It's a flat tire.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of that consideration, but the crossover. So there's definitely, I would say, we started with the technology that we developed in Baja for the Dakar tire, but then tread patterns, because it is dunes and a lot of sand, mostly sand. The tread patterns changed a little bit for the Dakar style racing. The vehicles are not as high horsepower in Dakar as they are in Baja for the big guys. And then, the weights of the vehicles are different. So there's definitely some differences in the tires, but I would say there's definitely some crossovers. So like I mentioned, the sharp rock that the Dakar tires get into, in the compounds and materials that needed to go into the development of a tire to help with that is transferred into some of the stuff we're putting into the tires in North America racing. So yeah, definitely some crossover in the tire designer, the tire builders, the race tire designer here in the U.S. is in constant conversation with the tire builder in Europe and for the Dakar stuff. So a lot of collaboration goes on between those guys, and they work together on a lot of stuff. So yeah, I would definitely say there's crossover there.
Yeah. I can imagine there's going to be unique situations. I mean, like in Dakar, a lot of the vehicles are equipped where the rules allow with deflation and inflation devices. So they're going to be changing tire pressures on the fly, exposing the tire to different heat, because when you deflate the tire, there's more friction there and higher heats. Where that might be something on the trophy truck side, a heavier vehicle. Obviously, in some cases, even double the horsepower, and obviously the Dakar, if you're going to run a 600-mile day, you got to make it 600 miles without a flat, where in a trophy truck, you got about 100 miles or less between pits or somebody that could get you a tire if need be. So I feel like there's definitely, I could see where both of them, you take some of the technology and some of the stuff that's learned in Baja and throw that at Dakar. And then I can also see where the Dakar stuff will help improve some of the Baja stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Dakar. I don't know the current rules, but I want to say there's a rule about not allowing a inflation system on the vehicle for Dakar stuff, I believe. I think maybe Robbie showed up with it one time. And it didn't go over very well.
Yeah, I know and then it seems like every time that Robbie pushes something, then, I think they realize how big of a threat he could be to the sport. And I mean, not threat in a bad way, threat in the unthroning some of those guys. Yeah,
an American doing well in the big class. Yeah,
I know. On the bikes, I'm surprised they've let it go on the bikes as far as they have. I mean, that's just saying that the organization's bad. I've actually had to work, or not had to. I've had the pleasure of working with a few of the guys further up in the Dakar chain, and they're actually really cool guys. And I just collectively sometimes, we from our side, outside looking in, think that some of the decisions they make are unfair. But that's just politics and organization stuff. But anyway, I mean, there's so many rules and so many things that you have to play by,
Yeah. Well, and that's it. And I mean, the only rally experience I had was down in Sonora. And I met some really good people, which actually I think is the connection here with you and I. But the sanctioning body definitely, I hear a lot of people saying, man, they're just dictators, if you will, of the rules, and we don't understand a lot of the rules and whatever. I'll give them benefit of the doubt and say I'm sure they have their reasons. When it comes to tires, I was a little frustrated a few years ago when they were trying to limit the speeds of some of the new cars with tire size, and all that did was just create basically a lot of tire failures, because you couldn't drive that vehicle slow enough to do well and not get tire floods, because they would not listen to the tire company's recommendation and reasoning for going to this size. They wanted to try to limit the speed of the car by the tire size, and you know what, make a restrictor plate or something like. Yeah. Sometimes it's not. It doesn't make us look good. It doesn't make the tire company look good, because we're the ones getting the flats. And then, if you're just a viewer, you don't understand the reason, why that's happening. You just say, oh man, BFG's getting a bunch of flats.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not good.
It's never the broken wheel. It's always the flat tire.
Yeah. So no, trust me, I don't want to be that guy making rules and enforcing rules.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time with the race director at Score. I don't want to be him. I don't want to have to deal with that stuff.
Right. Yeah. Trying to appease everybody.
Yeah. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It's the same thing with my job. I hear a lot of times like, "Oh man, you got the best job in the world, and I would love to have your job." I'm like, yeah, because what you see out here is a very small part of my job. They're not there for the phone calls all hours of the day and the
dealing with
the
two
work that
time
goes on
zones
behind the scenes. Yeah. And it was funny. Yeah. Or 3 time zones or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and it's funny because when I first started, I hear that, I try to defend or justify what I was doing, blah, 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 blah. No, it's like, I don't even care. It's like, yeah, I have the best job in the world.
Yeah.
Too bad I have it and you don't.
Yeah.
Whatever. Just kind of play it off. But yeah. So no, I don't have any of those guys that are making those rules. And, at the end of the day, got to give them the respect that they deserve for the work that they put into it, whether we agree with it or not. I will say that's one thing I love about Score and the trophy truck class and class 1 class is the unlimited racing. There's unless you're probably more knowledgeable on this on a global scale, but as far as I know, there's no other form of unlimited racing.
Yeah.
Than the trophy truck and class 1 stuff.
No, I mean, it's literally throw as much as you have at it, and the rules are, 40-inch tall tire is what it's at now. I remember back when it was 38.
No, it's unlimited.
Oh, now they've gone unlimited.
They're running 40s now, but I could run a 50 on it if I wanted to. There's no rule. There's no rule on tire size.
Yeah.
Well, we've already had the 42.
Oh, okay.
We had a 42 on a 20-inch wheel a few years ago. It was too much for the trucks to handle.
Just a little bit.
Like 2 trucks, I think, that ran a little ahead of the time. But I'm not. That say there might be a bigger tire in the near future. We never know.
Yeah. I mean, that
bigger the tire, smaller the desert, smaller the holes.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know that a lot of people know that yeah, it does bridge the gap. It doesn't fall as deep into the hole as you would say. Plus, it increases the ground clearances when you have things like differentials, swinging around back there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So awesome. Well, then I know you're just getting your day started on the East Coast. So.
Yeah.
Already had a few the morning.
I get up early. Yeah, I get up early. I like to have a
head start on everybody.
My coffee and a crossword puzzle is kind of like how I like to start my day. It's nothing race related. It's a little brain stretch and
nice
jump start to the day. But no, we are getting rolling in the office. Get things moving.
Nice.
Like I said, as working for Jackson, we got the motorsports side, but there's a lot of other stuff that's going on that I get to be involved with. It. They still have the marketing stuff and do a lot of work for a lot of brands. So it's a lot of variety, which I really enjoy. So
nice.
But yeah,
awesome.
No, I appreciate the invite, and hopefully I didn't just ramble too long and make it too boring. But
no.
Hopefully conveyed what BFGoodrich's brand history and future looks like when it comes to off-road racing and rally even, and then also Jackson's involvement and how that kind of comes into play, and how we're also the place where you call and buy the race tires as well. So that 1-800-RACE-BFG numbers, Jackson handles all of that. Yeah. So.
Nice.
So yeah, I didn't go too deep into the Jackson stuff, but it's definitely hand in hand. A lot of people out in the community think of us as BFGoodrich employees because we're representing the brand. We're dressed BFGoodrich. We talk BFGoodrich. So it's a really good partnership, I guess, if you will, between the two companies, and so yeah, it's
awesome.
Definitely a privilege to be part of a great brand like Michelin and BFGoodrich, and happy to represent.
Yeah. Let's just say get to eat tacos and then go back east and explain and work and do all of this stuff and then come back and eat more tacos and you get to travel.
The biggest thing I have to explain on the East Coast is that these aren't tacos. This isn't Mexican food. This is Tex-Mex. This is not what a taco tastes like. This is not what a tortilla tastes like. This is not what carne asada is. And they're like, "What's carne asada?" I'm
Wait,
like,
what?
Yeah.
Well, one day. Yeah. I mean, and it's a little far to wrap them up to go.
Right. And the other thing I don't have in South Carolina that's right there on par with the tacos is probably the In-N-Out. I don't have an In-N-Out burger. That's usually one of my first stops when I land in San Diego is to head to an In-N-Out burger.
One of the ones, probably the one closest to the airport, National City or something like that. Or
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it's interesting, but I can say they're working their way. I have a friend that works for In-N-Out, and I know that they're working their way back east, little by little.
Yeah, I say that I probably wouldn't like it as much if I had it available all the time. So I kind of like the novelty of it.
That's a good point.
I have something to look forward to because if you have it at your access all the time, that's why when I land out in California and see these guys like, oh, great. Guess we got to go to In-N-Out, right? I'm like, don't you like them? Like, yeah, really? They're great, but I've been there 5 times this week. I don't have that. So
yeah. So deal with it. We're going.
Yeah, right. Come on over.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, Nate, I really appreciate you taking the time and giving us some of the history on BFG and what they've done out on obviously in the desert in Baja and then some of the ties of with the Dakar and the development stuff and then of course Jackson. So I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity and stay racing, stay out there, be safe, and enjoy life. You only got one go at it. Yeah,
there we go. Only one lap on this one.
Only one lap race.
Awesome, sir. Well, I appreciate it. Have a good day.
All right, bud. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks. See you. Bye. All right, so there you have it. That was Nate Hunt from the Jackson Motorsports Group, or as we affectionately know it, and most of us, I don't know if a lot of you guys knew that, but they represent the brand, obviously BFGoodrich and Michelin Tire. So I don't know that a lot of people know that. I only knew about that and back from our racing days, and that was when Frank D'Angelo was basically doing what Nate is doing and coordinating all of these things. And yeah, it's the stuff of legends as far as their support and what they've done and offered to racers in the past and now and currently. So it is really, really awesome to see them support the brand, and I did kind of mention that I know there are ties between BFGoodrich, stateside and what they develop here for race trucks versus what they develop for Dakar cars and what they do over there. I know there's crossover and I know there's a lot of stuff that works, but one of the big things too is that it's not just that, but it's how they support desert racing, how they support the industry and what they provide. And so I think that that's a really big, a really, really big deal, working with SCORE, working with the racers and really functioning hand in hand with the organizations. And if you've ever seen one of their pit books that they have, or map books, we have some of those still stacked up from the years that we were racing, and you can open them up and just to look and you can tell the work and the amount of effort that goes into these to create them. And it's amazing and it's awesome. And it's, you're happy to have one of those in your hand when things go sideways, because it gives you a level of certainty to what you're doing. If you're a chase crew and trying to get into Baja, and a lot of this stuff, it's interesting is a lot of the stuff that when you get into some of these roads and some of these trails is like for instance, you see Baja Rally, Baja Rally may use some of these roads as well. It just depends on where they're at and in the terrain, because as he mentioned, you have to work with the local landowners. You have to have some communication with them, and you got to figure out, who's the guy that's really going to give us the permission to get through this and go into these places. The difference with SCORE and rally racing is going to be that, SCORE has hundreds of competitors and they're going to pre-run. So if you think about it, if each competitor on average maybe does 2 laps of the entire race course before they race, so 3 laps total, 300 entries, this is 900 times that this course is going to be ran in the course of a week or so. That's a lot. Where rally racing, you're talking about, if we're talking about the organization with Baja Rally, it's like you're talking about 3 people, maybe 4 people running sections of the course months in advance. So you would never really there's a high probability that you will not run into anybody until it's time for the race. So that's where it's important to have that relationship with the landowners and have some understanding as to what is happening. So it's really, really cool. If you're listening to the show and you've ever thought about going to the Baja races, there's a lot of things that you can experience, whether if it's going to be on Rally Raid and something like Baja Rally or Sonora Rally over on mainland Mexico, or if it's, going to one of the Baja races, Baja 400, 500, 1000, the 250, any of those races. So anyway, with that being said, guys, I got to get ready for work and get out the door. So I leave you in good hands with this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. And remember, it'll make sense when you get there. Enjoy the ride. All right, that is a wrap for the Chasing Waypoints podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Looking forward to our next one coming up. Remember, if you are out riding, do not forget to tag us at Chasing Waypoints. Hashtag Chasing Waypoints. And if you haven't already, get on over to the website. Get signed up for the newsletter, The Bivouac. North America's Rally Raid and Adventure Riding newsletter. Hey, let's have some fun. Let's find out what are you guys up to. Let's get you featured. If you're a brand and looking to get supported, get some eyeballs, get some ears on your business, absolutely hit us up. Send us a message at podcast at Chasing Waypoints. But anyway, that is a wrap. Remember, shiny side up. See you guys.